All right, so for this game, we have what is largely a sequencing game. We have 8 positions to work with, so we'll set it up accordingly, 1 through 8. Now, it's worth noting that we only have 6 plays to work with. We have G, H, J, L, M, O, which means some of these will have to show up more than once. Now, when you have kind of this irregularity where you have duplication and whatnot, you always want to get an idea of kind of the limits of what can be done. How many do you have to have? How many duplicates are you going to possibly have? Now, one thing that's already worth noting is that the game doesn't quite explicitly say that every single play will show up at least once, but what they do tell us is that during these 8 days, exactly 6 plays will be performed. In other words, that does mean that everybody does have to show up at least once. Because if not everybody was there, if only 8 plays showed up, then it would not really be true to say that exactly 6 plays are performed. In order to know that there's exactly 6 plays that are actually performed, that means that all 6 plays have to show up on the board, which means we have 6 plays to work with. We have 8 positions to work with, which means we have basically 2 extra slots. So there's one of 2 ways that this could go. Either one of the plays is going to go twice extra, or in other words, they show up 3 times in total, or 2 of the plays are going to have 1 extra slot, or in other words, 2 of the plays show up twice. Basically, either we're going to have 2 doubles, or we're going to have 1 triple. From there, let's take a look at the rules. So first rule says, the play that's performed on 1 must also be performed on 5. So that's pretty good. We know that that's kind of one of our duplicates right there. 1 is going to have to be the same as 5. In fact, let's even kind of leave a reminder here that 1 and 5 are going to be the same. Next, the play that's performed on 2 must also be performed on day 7. So that's actually great, because not only does that give us another duplicate, that also tells us that we're not going to have a triple in this game. We're going to have 2 doubles. One of our doubles is going to be on 1 and 5, and then the other double is going to be on 2 and 7. So that's good. Let's keep going. M and O cannot be consecutive, so I guess we can say that M and O can't be next to each other. And I suppose it's worth noting that kind of does suggest that M and O also can't be in 5 and 7 one way or the other, because 5 and 7 are going to end up next to each other in 1 and 2. But that's kind of very situational. Let's keep going. For at least one performance of H, the next play is going to be M. So basically, we have to have on the board at least one HM block. So there must be a minimum of 1 HM block. I suppose it would have to be just 1 HM block, wouldn't it? Because there's not really a way to have 2 HM blocks, since we know where the duplicates go. If they both double up, then they would go into 1 and 2, but then they would have to go into 5 and 7. There's no way to have 2 HM blocks. But either way, we definitely have to have an HM block somewhere on the board. And lastly, there must be a performance of J at some point before there is any performance of H. So essentially, we have to have, I guess, let's say something like there's a J before there is any H. And I'll circle the H just kind of indicate that it's not just an H, but rather it's any H. So even if there's multiple H's, J has to go before all of the H's. Now, in terms of, I guess, going any further, this is pretty open, isn't it? There doesn't seem to be too much that we can do here. I mean, H, M, and O seem to have a bit of interplay between them, but it's kind of hard to put your finger on anything here. So you know what? Let's just take a look at the questions. Question number 18 is your standard exclusion question, so let's go back to the rules. First rule, 1 and 5 must be the same. Let's see if anything violates that. A, they're both G, we're good. B, they're both J, we're good. C has them both J, that's also fine. D has L in both 1 and 5, that's good. And E has, that's also good, L in 1 and 5. So it looks like we can keep going. Answer choice, the second rule, 2 and 7 must be the same. So that's the second and the second last one. So A, JJ, that's fine. B, GG, that's fine. C, H, H, that's fine. D, H, H, that's fine. E, J, G, that doesn't work. Finally, we can get rid of answer choice E. Next, M and O cannot be consecutive. A looks good. B looks good. C looks... Oh, no, it does not. We can get rid of answer choice C. We have M and O next to each other. Answer choice D looks fine. Let's keep going. We have to have an HM block somewhere on the board. So A is legit. Answer choice B does not have an HM block. We can get rid of that. And D has an HM block, so we're good. Lastly, we have to have a J before we see any of the H's. A looks fine. D does not have a J before that H in the second position, so we can get rid of answer choice D, and that leaves us with answer choice A as the only viable one for question number 18. And I suppose, as usual, let's just quickly plug that into the board. We essentially have G, J, H, and then we've got M, G, L, J, O. All right. Next, question number 19 is global. Let's take a look at question number 20, which is our first local question here. So if we have L on, or rather O on day 3, well, if we have O on day 3, I suppose the question then, as usual, becomes, what does that tell us? Well, I suppose barely anything, doesn't it, right? Because, I mean, obviously M can't go next to O, so we can't have an M in 2, which I suppose also means that we cannot have an M in 7 either, and M can't go next to 4, or next to O in 4. But otherwise, I suppose that might restrict the HM block. So where could we have an HM block right now? Obviously, we can't have an HM in 1 and 2 because J has to go before the first H. And I suppose that means that we can't have an HM block in 5 and 6 either for the same reason, right? Because if you put H in 5, then H would go into 1, and then that would break the J before H rule. In fact, we can actually make a bit of a global deduction that H can't go into the 5th position or into the 1st position, somewhat obviously. We can't really place the HM block in 6 and 7 either. That wouldn't work. So really, the HM block, it could go into 4 and 5, or it could go into 7 and 8. Worst case scenario, we can split this, but you know what? Let's see. Maybe we have enough information to answer the question. Which of the following could be true right now? Answer choice A, G goes into 2. That seems okay. Answer choice B, H goes into 2. And no, that actually maybe even. That actually might be okay as well. Let's hold on to it. Answer choice C, L goes into 1. That looks good too. Or L goes into 7. You know what? Let's split scenarios. So we said the HM block can really only go into one of two places. Either it's going to go into 4 and 5, or it was going to go into 7 and 8. Nothing else was going to work. Now, in the top scenario, if H goes into 7, then the other H would go into 2, which is fine. In the bottom scenario, if M goes into 5, then the other M would have to go into 1. In both instances, J has to go before the first H, so J would have to go 1 here or 2 here. And otherwise, I think we're a bit open. Okay, let's try that again. Answer choice A, what could be true? G in 2? And no, it looks like that does not work in either one of these scenarios. B, can we have H on 2? And maybe, we did say that maybe could work. Let's hold on to it just in case. Let's take a quick look at the other ones. Could we have L on 1? And no, that does not work in either of these scenarios. Can we have L on 7? And also no, actually, even in the second scenario, because we know that J has to be in 2, so that would actually have meant that J will have to also be on 7. So L can't go on 7. M goes on 7. No, that doesn't happen in either one of these, so the only one that could be true for number 20 is B. Next, question number 21. If H is on 2, well, let's take a look. If we have H on 2, so right away, that does tell us that the other H is going to have to be on 7, since 2 and 7 are the same. We also know that we have to have an HM block, but that could still be either one of these. Oh, we know that j has to go before the first h, so j obviously goes into 1. And if j is in 1, then the other j has to go into 5 because 1 and 5 are the same. Otherwise, we still have to have an m after an h, but I guess we don't know which one that is. And O and M don't play nice, but there's still some flexibility there. You know what? Let's see. Maybe this is enough. The question asks what could be true. G on 1, and no, that is currently J. Could we have J on 3? No, because J is already on 1 and 5. Could we have L on 8? And maybe if L is on 8, then M would have to, the HM block would go into 2 and 3, and then O would get pushed away from the M, so it would go into 6, but that seems okay. Let's just take a look at the rest. Could we have M on 4? And no, because the M has to follow one of the H's, so there's no way to put M into 4. And can we have O on 5? No, because that's already J. So the best answer to question 21 is C. Next, question 22. If M is on 2, well, let's try this out. If we have M in the second position, well, right away, again, we know that whoever is on 2 also has to go into 7. So M will go on 7. Oh, and we have to have an HM block, but there's no way to put H into 1 since we have to have a J before all the H's. So the HM block is going to have to go into 6 and 7. So that's pretty good. Anything else we can do here? I mean, the J has to go before the H somewhere, but we have a bit of flexibility here. Oh, the O. We know O and M don't play nice. So O can't go into 1 or 3, but it also can't go into 8. Oh, but it also can't really go into 5, can it? Because if it went into 5, then O would end up in 1, and O and M don't play nice. So the only place that O can go right now is the 4th position. And yeah, I guess J still has to go into 1, 3, or 5, but that seems flexible. Although more specifically, actually, J is either going to go into 3 or it's going to go into 1 and 5. But okay, let's go. The question asks, which of the following now must be true? Answer choice A, G goes into 6, and no, it can't because H is already there. Answer choice B, H is on 3, and no, H is already on 6, and 3 isn't a double. Answer choice C, J is on 1. I mean, it could, but it doesn't have to. J could have gone into 3 as well. Answer choice D, L is on 8. I don't think we've got L confirmed. E, O is on 4. And yeah, there it is. O does have to go into 4. Best answer to number 22 is E. Next, 23. If L is on 7 and O is on 8, well, let's see what we can do. If we have L on 7 and we have O on 8, what does that tell us? So O is actually clear now because we know O doesn't double up anymore because it's on 8, and this is not going to be a problem, so that's kind of nice. But if L is on 7, we definitely know that L is on 2 as well, so that's nice. We can leave the L over there. What else can we do? I suppose the MO is done. The HM block and the J is kind of the only thing left in play. What could we do with the HM block? We know the H can't go into 5 because then it would be forced into 1 and that wouldn't work. But we could do HM in 4 and 5, or we can do HM into 3 and 4, potentially. You know what? We'll split it if necessary. Let's just take a quick look and see if we have enough information. The question asks what must be true. Answer choice A, G goes into 6, and I don't see why. Answer choice B, H goes into 3, and no, we said we could have had H in 4. Answer choice C, J goes into 1, and also does it? Because if we have H in 4, then couldn't J go into 3? Next, do we have to have M in 4? And no, I mean, the HM could have gone into 3, 4, but it could have gone into 4, 5. Do we have to have M on 5? And again, no, because we could have had HM in 3, 4. So looks like we might be missing something. Let's split scenarios. So we said worst case scenario, we could have split this based on the HM block. So either the HM block goes into 3 and 4, or it goes into 4 and 5. We said 5 and 6 is not going to work because H can never go 5 because it would force the H to go into 1. So from there, what can we do? Well, we know that the J has to go before that first H. So in the top template, J will have to go into position 1. In the bottom scenario, I mean, we know that 1 and 5 are the same, so M will have to go into 1, and then J will have to go into 3. And in the top scenario, the J would have to go into 5 since J is already in 1. And that just leaves us with G in, oh yeah, there it is. G has to go 6. You'll notice that no matter what, G is in the 6th position. So to the question, what must be true? The best answer here is A. Back to question number 19. What must be false? So what can never happen? Answer choice A, G goes on 2. Could we have G on 2? I mean, we haven't seen that yet. But arguably, why not? G is a pretty open character. Answer choice B, could we have G on 5? And that we've already seen. That definitely has happened before, so that's an easy one to get rid of. Answer choice C, H on 2. We've seen that before, several times in fact, so that definitely could have happened. Answer choice D, H is on 5. Ooh, no, that definitely can't happen, because if H was on 5, then it would also have to be on 1, but then you wouldn't have J before H. So the best answer to number 19, what must be false, is answer choice D.